Hey folks, what's going on? I'm Pruitt, and this is part 2 of my little beginner series for people trying to get into the world of After Effects. Hope you folks are doing all right. I'm unbelievable as always, just doing what I do. Thank you for popping in. I'm trying to do a couple of these little videos for people that are just starting out in After Effects. And the reason I wanted to do this is because, number one, a lot of you folks have reached out to me in the comments or on social media one way or another asking about After Effects and just little simple tips and tricks. And the second reason I want to do it is because when I went through my process of trying to learn After Effects, and I'm still not a pro at this, trust me, I thought all of the guides and tutorials that were available were just a little too fast. There were some that were really good, but most of them were really fast. And I want to make this sort of a slow approach with regards to trying to learn this piece of software. So in the previous video, we talked about a lot of the basics with the keyboard shortcuts and going through the user interface and so forth. This time we're going to actually do a little bit more along the lines of animation, far as working with keyframes and working with the shortcuts of keyframes and working with the graph editor. Actually, it's called the speed graph editor. It's called the speed graph editor. I can't talk today. All right, so let's go ahead and fire up After Effects and get started on this. All right, so I'm going to go into the existing project that we did from the last go round, and we'll just build upon this one. Best way to go about it is to start a brand new composition. So of course we'll go up to the top and click on composition and select new composition. I generally like to make my compositions in 4K, but for this time I'll go ahead and just leave it at HD format. So that's 1920 by 1080, but I definitely want to make sure it's 60 frames per second because animations look so much better when you record them as 60 frames per second and put them into a 30 frames per second piece of footage. So we'll go ahead and start with that and leave the background black. Okay, so we have our new composition, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit by pressing the control key and the plus key. So we zoomed in to make this smaller or larger. All right. And if you remember from the previous video, having your resolution set for your scrubbing, having it set to half, quarter, or something like that is a little bit easier on your computer. You won't get as much stuttering, but when you go to export it, you can export it at a full resolution. So I'm going to have this at half resolution for now, even though my computer should be able to handle 1080p scrubbing. Okay, let's get started. So we want to talk about using keyframes and the speed graph editor with your keyframes. When you get into using these keyframes, it allows you to understand how your objects can move across the screen and interact with one another. But we're just going to take it real slow, and we'll just start with just moving an object up and down the screen or across the screen or what have you. So we're going to just pull in our Instagram logo into this composition that we have called Comp 2. So just drag it down, and there it is. And remember, your shortcut to scale down this asset is to press S on the keyboard, and you can just hover your mouse and just roll it down to something that's not too big and not too small. So that works for me. And when you're done with that, just press S again, and it goes away there inside of your layer list. All right, so we have this set to a 5-second composition here, which is totally fine. It doesn't really need to be much longer than that, but I don't like the position of this icon here for Instagram. So I'm just going to grab it and say we want to make it go across the screen and just stop over there on the right. So I'm going to sit it right here on the right hand side just from dragging it. Conversely, if I wanted to move it, I'll just hit undo. I could go back to my layer panel and press P on the keyboard for position, and I could just use these little coordinates here to move it. And I know left and right is this first coordinate here, so I can just drag it that way like that. Another trick I'm going to undo. If you don't want to use these coordinates and you decide to use your mouse, and you want to keep it lined up. First of all, make sure you have it centered, and then when you go to drag it, hold down your shift key, and that will help you drag it more so. I shouldn't do that. I have to turn this positioning off. So let me undo. Okay, position's off. Sorry about that. If you want to drag it across your screen with your mouse, you can, but if you want to keep it in a straight line, hold down the shift key when you're dragging, and that'll keep it in a straight line. So if I'm going up and down, it's not necessarily going outside of the bounds as I go up and down, okay? Or right and left. All right, but first, let me go ahead and get this centered again, and then I'm going to put it on the far right side of the screen here. Okay, that's good right there. Now, what I want to do is simulate this particular logo going from left to right on the screen. So this is where I want it to end up for now. On the timeline, you need to move your time to something in the future. For this example, we'll move it up to, say, 3 seconds. That works right about there. It's a little beyond 3 seconds, but close enough. All right. And then we're going to go ahead and press P on our keyboard at the layer panel so we can have our position coordinates set up. And we're going to add a keyframe by clicking on this little stopwatch icon. That lets you know that you're getting ready to do animations. We now have our little keyframe right here on the timeline, and we're going to move it all the way back to the beginning of the timeline. And this time we're going to make the position of the icon go to the left. Actually, I want to just take it all the way off the screen. So let's just drag it, and again, hold the shift key, and I'm going to drag it all the way off the screen and let go. And when you let go, you get another keyframe showing up right here on your screen. Okay, the magic part about these keyframes is understanding the duration and understanding the speed. There's a difference. Okay, the duration of this animation is 3 seconds, but the speed, as far as how fast it moves across the screen, is what makes it a little more appealing to the viewer. All right. So if I just go ahead and hit play on this screen here, it'll scroll across to the other side, and it does that within the 3 second duration. And let's do that again. Yay, it went from left to right. Nice. Let's jazz it up a little bit. Highlight your keyframes by grabbing them all just like this. And you want to right click and select Keyframe Assistant. Now you see here you have what they call Easy Ease, and you also notice there's a shortcut for this, and you can just do F9. You can use these other Easy Ease options, but 9 times out of 10, just using this option here is going to help you get the optimal results that you want. So we'll go ahead and do F9. And it changes the icons of the keyframes. Instead of a diamond, you have this sort of a hourglass look. Okay, so now let's play it back. I don't know if you notice, but as it got right about here, the icon, the Instagram logo decided to slow down just a little bit before it got to the 3 second mark. So let's watch it again. Press the space, and it slows down just a little bit. Now, if that's hard to see, the best way to look at this is to look at it through the speed graph editor. To get to the speed graph editor, you want to press this little icon right here. Once you get that, you press on your keyframe properties here. For us, it's the position, and you notice there's an arc going across the screen. That's actually the duration of your objects moving across the screen. Now, the lower the position, the lower the speed. The higher the position, the higher the speed. So what's happening is, as this icon is going to the 3 seconds, it's speeding up in time, and then it slows down right there. So if I hit play and you watch it on the screen up here in the monitor, speeds up, slows down. All right. But now let's manipulate that. There's a better way for that to look. So you go to the handles on the graph editor, and you can just drag this way, and let go. So what we should see this time is it'll gradually speed up and then almost just slam on the brakes once it gets to the end. So let's hit play on the keyboard. And then it slammed on the brakes. Okay, I don't like that as much, so let's turn it back to a different angle. Let's move this over here like that and do it like that. So now what's going to happen, it's going to jump out a little bit faster and then just slide in a little more gradually. So let's hit play. See? I want to speed it up just a touch. Right about there. See? That's the difference when using the easy ease options to do your animations. Okay, so that's one way to keyframe and set up your animations to look a little bit smoother and nicer on the screen. An effect that I like to add is going beyond your stopping point and then bringing it back to your original stopping point, sort of making it look like a bounce on the screen. So let's move this over to our ending point there. Okay, but instead of stopping there, I'm going to drag it on over just a little bit more in time. So we'll go over maybe 2 frames or so. Right. And then we'll just drag the positioning over a little bit more, like so. Move it over another couple frames. And then we'll drag the positioning back to right about there. So now when we play it through, it should give us a little bit of a bounce effect. Right? And that's fine. The bounce effect is there, but it doesn't necessarily work with the actual speed graph that we have. So let's go ahead and change the speed graph. Let's turn this off. Let's make this speed up a little more this way, like that. Let's try that. Speed up. Okay, so maybe the bounce is a little bit too much there. So let's take it out of the speed graph and we'll turn off the easy ease on this one here. So you change it by going to keyframe interpolation and make it linear. And we'll do the same thing for this one. Make it linear. Okay, now let's try it. So that's a little bit better, but I still think I need to give it some more speed. So let's really ramp it up like that. Okay, so now we got it ramped up. Now let's see how it plays. It's a little bit better. Now, I still think it's a slow animation as far as the duration goes. So let's take these keyframes and speed up the duration by bringing it back to say 2 seconds instead of 3 seconds. Okay, let's play it back. Hops over there. A little better, still too slow. So the closer the keyframes are in relationship to each other, the faster the duration is. So we'll make it 1 second. So it's going to go from this side of the screen to the right side of the screen within a second. So it should be pretty quick. Much better. Whoops. Let's grab them all like that. Better. And we even got the little bounce effect right there. All right. So that is using keyframes and using the speed graph editor. Now, if you click on your speed graph editor and it doesn't look this way when you highlight your keyframes, it's because you have the wrong type of graph. So you want to click down here in the bottom of your screen and say edit speed graph, and also show graph tool tips is a good idea. Okay, so hopefully that helps you guys out. All right, so that's part 2. This is a little bit shorter and hopefully a little bit easier to understand for this After Effects beginner tutorial. Feel free to leave me a comment below if you have any questions, and be sure to hit the share buttons and the like buttons and all that good signal stuff. I really appreciate that. And just stay tuned, because I'm going to try to have one of these out at least once a week, if not more. But I want you folks to be able to dive into the world of After Effects and learn the ins and outs and the little fundamental values inside of this app to help make your videos look a lot better and a little more polished. Thank you folks for watching. I'll catch you guys on the next one. See ya.